Some wounds never fully close. They just stop bleeding as loud. That's the part nobody tells you about healing. They make it sound like a finish line. Like one day you wake up and the weight is gone. But healing is not a destination. It's more like learning how to carry what almost buried you. For years I thought, because I was still standing, I must have been fine. Still laughing, still showing up, still grinding, still holding it together for everyone around me. I mistook surviving for healing and spent years wondering why the pain kept finding me in quiet moments. Late nights, long drives, empty rooms. The second the noise stopped, everything I had been outrunning caught up. People see the strength. They never see what the strength costs. Every strong person you know paid for that version of themselves somehow. Most of them paid in silence, in private breakdowns, in smiles that covered things too heavy to explain. In funerals for versions of themselves nobody else even knew existed. Because you can lose people while still breathing. You can grieve the trust you used to have, the innocence, the dreams that didn't make it, the person you thought you would become. Those losses are real even when they leave no grave to visit. But here's what I know now. Healing is not going back to who you were before the damage. It is becoming someone the damage could not destroy. Someone softer in the places that once felt hard. Someone who carries scars without being ruled by them. Some days healing looks like progress. Other days it just looks like refusing to quit. Both count. You are allowed to still be in the middle of it. Still figuring it out. Still carrying pieces you have not set down yet. You are not behind. You are still here. And after everything, that is not nothing. That is everything. There are wounds that nobody sees. Not because they're hidden. Because they learned how to smile. Some pain becomes so familiar. It stops feeling like an injury and starts feeling like part of who you are. People see the way you walk. They never see what you're carrying. They hear the laugh. They never hear the conversations you have with yourself at 2 a.m. when the room gets too quiet. I used to think healing was a destination, a finish line, some magical moment where everything that hurt would finally stop hurting. But healing doesn't work like that. Healing is waking up and still remembering. Healing is breathing through memories that still know your name. It's learning how to carry what almost killed you. For years I confused surviving with healing. I thought because I was still standing, I must have been healed, because I could still laugh, still work, still show up for people. But pain has a way of introducing itself when the room gets quiet. Late nights, long drives, mirror reflections, moments where there's nowhere left to run. And suddenly everything you've been avoiding catches up. Every goodbye, every promise that never came true, every version of yourself you had to bury just to become who you are today. People don't realize how many deaths a person can experience while still breathing. Strength is expensive. Every strong person you know paid for that strength somehow. Most of them paid in silence. But here's what I've learned. Healing isn't becoming who you were before the damage. It's becoming someone new, someone wiser, someone capable of trusting despite knowing betrayal exists. Some scars stay forever, and that's okay, because the scar remains, but so do you. And after everything, that's enough. Some wounds never announce themselves. They just become part of how you carry yourself. People see the way you move through a room. They never see what you're dragging behind you. They hear the laugh. They never hear the conversations you have with yourself at 2 in the morning when the whole world is asleep and it's just you and everything you've been trying to outrun. I used to think healing was a destination, a finish line. Some morning you'd wake up and it would just be gone. But healing doesn't work like that. Healing is remembering and breathing through it anyway. It's learning how to carry what almost took you out. Some storms leave damage even after the rain stops. And somehow life expects you to keep moving like nothing happened. So you do. Not because you're okay, because bills don't care that your heart is tired, because people still need things from you, because the world keeps spinning whether you're ready or not. And somewhere in all of that, you learn how to survive. But surviving and healing are two completely different things. For years I confused the two. I thought because I was still standing, I must have been fine. I thought because I could still laugh and still show up, the damage was gone. But pain knows exactly when the room gets quiet. Some wounds never fully close. They just stop bleeding loud enough for people to notice. And maybe that's the first lie we learn about healing. That one day it all disappears. That one morning you'll wake up and the weight will be gone. The grief, the fear, the memories, the damage. But healing isn't a destination. Healing is learning how to dance with the ghosts without letting them lead. And if I'm being honest, my name is Raz. And I've spent years learning that lesson the hard way. People see the titles: president of Moneyville Records, rapper, producer, engineer, videographer, creative, leader, father, partner, provider. But titles are just trophies people hang on the outside of a house they never stepped inside. Because what they don't see are the nights. The nights when the room gets quiet. The nights when success can't silence memory. The nights when accomplishments can't drown out pain. The nights when you're forced to sit across from every version of yourself that didn't survive the journey. People think strength is loud. It isn't. Strength is silent. Strength is crying without making a sound because someone else in the house needs peace. Strength is carrying heartbreak while pretending your hands aren't shaking. Strength is waking up after life knocks you down and still finding a reason to stand. And trust me, life knocked me down. I buried dreams, buried versions of myself, buried expectations, buried pieces of my heart that never grew back the same. Because people don't realize how many funerals a person attends without ever stepping into a cemetery. You can grieve trust. You can grieve innocence. You can grieve the person you thought you were going to become. Those losses are real, even when they leave no grave to visit. I used to think surviving meant I was healing, because I was still moving, still smiling, still creating, still showing up, still building, still making music, still chasing visions, still carrying Moneyville on my shoulders, still being who everybody needed me to be. But surviving and healing are not the same thing. Surviving is staying alive. Healing is learning how to live again. And there were moments when pain followed me everywhere. Late night drives, empty parking lots, long stretches of road beneath city lights, mirror reflections, moments where there was nowhere left to run. Because pain is patient. It waits. It waits for the noise to stop. Then it reminds you of everything you never processed. Every goodbye, every betrayal, every disappointment, every version of yourself you had to leave behind. And suddenly you're standing face to face with everything you thought you escaped. But somewhere between the breaking and the rebuilding, something changed. Because life gave me something bigger than my pain. A daughter. My beautiful little girl, Rain. Like the rain that falls after a drought. Like the rain that washes dust from old wounds. Like the rain that reminds the earth how to bloom again. Rain didn't just change my life. She changed my perspective. Because when she looks at me, she doesn't see my scars. She doesn't see my failures. She doesn't see my mistakes. She sees Dad. And somehow that one word carries more healing than 1,000 motivational speeches ever could. Then there's Diamond, my partner, my blessing, my peace. The woman who stood beside me while I was still trying to figure out how to stand beside myself. Because real love doesn't just celebrate who you are. Real love survives who you were. Real love sees the damage and chooses you anyway. And every day she reminds me that healing isn't something you do alone. Then I think about my mother, the sacrifices she made, the prayers she whispered, the strength she passed down. I think about my sister, my nieces, my nephews, my family, the people who gave me reasons to keep fighting when quitting would have been easier. And suddenly I realized healing was never about me, not entirely. Because every scar I survive becomes proof for somebody else that survival is possible. Every battle I overcome becomes permission for somebody else to keep going. Every morning I choose not to quit becomes a message to somebody who's thinking about giving up. And maybe that's why we're all here. Not because we're unbreakable, but because we're still rebuilding, still becoming, still learning, still growing, still carrying wounds, still carrying hope, still carrying faith, still carrying dreams, still carrying love, still carrying responsibilities, still carrying people who depend on us, and somehow still carrying ourselves. The scar remains, the memories remain, the lessons remain. The pain may never completely disappear, but neither do I, because healing isn't becoming who you were before the damage. Healing is becoming someone the damage couldn't destroy. Someone wiser, someone softer, someone stronger, someone capable of loving despite loss, trusting despite betrayal, dreaming despite disappointment, living despite everything. So if you're listening to this and you're still hurting, good. That means you're still feeling. And if you're still feeling, you're still fighting. And if you're still fighting, you're still alive. And if you're still alive, the story isn't over. Not for you, not for me, not for us. We're still here, still breathing, still building, still believing. still becoming, still healing. And after everything we've survived, that's not weakness, that's not failure, that's not unfinished, that's everything. Here, still healing, here, still healing, here, still healing.